The turtle and sparrow in elegiac tale. Matthew Prior. Behind an unfrequented glade, where yew and myrtle mix their shade, a widow turtle pensive sat, and wept her murdered lover's fate. The sparrow chanced that way to walk, a bird that loves to chirp and talk. Be sure he did the turtle greet, she answered him as she thought meet. Sparrows and turtles, by the by, can think as well as you or I. But how they did their thoughts express the margin shows by T and ST. My hopes are lost, my joys are fled, alas. I weep Columbo dead. Come, all ye winged lovers, come, drop pinks and daisies on his tomb. Sing, Philomel, his funeral verse, ye pious redbreasts deck his hearse. Fair swans, extend your dying throats, Columbo's death requires your notes. For him, my friend, for him I moan, my dear Columbo, dead and gone. Stretched on the bier Columbo lies, pale are his cheeks, and closed his eyes. Those eyes, where beauty smiling lay, those eyes, where love was used to play. Ah! Cruel fate, alas how soon that beauty and those joys are flown. Columbo is no more, ye floods, bear the sad sound to distant woods. The sound let echo's voice restore, and say, Columbo is no more. Ye floods, ye woods, ye echoes, moan my dear Columbo, dead and gone. The dryads all forsook the wood, and mournful naiads round me stood. The tripping fauns and fairies came, all conscious of our mutual flame, to sigh for him, with me to moan, my dear Columbo, dead and gone. Venus disdained not to appear, to lend my grief a friendly ear. But what avails her kindness now? She ne'er shall hear my second vow. The loves that round their mother flowed did in her face her sorrows view. Their drooping wings they pensive hung, their arrows broke, their bows unstrung. They heard attentive what I said, and wept, with me, Columbo dead. For him I sigh, for him I moan, my dear Columbo, dead and gone. 'Tis ours to weep, great Venus said, 'tis Jove's alone to be obeyed, nor birds nor goddesses can move the just behests of fatal Jove. I saw thy maid with sad regret, and cursed the fowler's cruel net. Ah! Dear Columbo, how he fell, whom Turturella loved so well. I saw him bleeding on the ground, the sight tore up my ancient wound, and whilst you wept, alas! I cried, Columbo and Adonis died. Weep, all ye streams, ye mountains, groan. I mourn Columbo, dead and gone. Still let my tender grief complain, nor day nor night that grief restrain. I said, and Venus still replied, Columbo and Adonis died. As poor Turturella, hard thy case, and just thy tears, alas, alas. And hast thou loved, and canst thou hear with piteous heart a lover's care? Come, then, with me thy sorrows join, and ease my woes by telling thine. For thou, poor bird, perhaps mayest moan some Passerella, dead and gone. Dame Turtle, this runs soft in rhyme, but neither suits the place nor time. The fowler's hand, whose cruel care for dear Columbo set the snare again for thee may set. Two birds may perish in one net, thou shouldest avoid this cruel field, and sorrow should to prudence yield. 'Tis sad to die, it may be so. 'Tis sadder yet to live in woe. When widows use their canting strain they seem resolved to wed again. When widowers would this truth disprove, they never tasted real love. Love is soft joy and gentle strife, his efforts all depend on life. When he has thrown two golden darts, and struck the lovers' mutual hearts, of his black shafts let death send one, alas. The pleasing game is done, ill is the poor survivor sped, a corpse feels mighty cold in bed. Venus said right, nor tears can move nor plaints revoke the will of Jove. All must obey the general doom, down from Alcides to Thumb. Grim Pluto will not be withstood by force or craft. Tall Robin Hood, as well as Little John, is dead. You see how deeply I am read. With fate's lean tipstaff none can dodge, he'll find you out where'er you lodge. Ajax, to shun his general power, in vain absconded in a flower. An idle seeing teeth on his acted, went to a grasshopper contracted. Death struck them in those shapes again, as once he did when they were men. For reptiles perish, plants decay. Flesh is but grass turns to hay, and hay is dung, and dung to clay. Thus heads extremely nice discover that folks may die some 10 times over. But oft by too refined a touch to prove things plain they prove too much. Whate'er Pythagoras may say, for each you know will have his way. With great submission I pronounce that people die no more than once, but once is sure, and death is common to bird and man, including woman, from the spread eagle to the wren. Alas, no mortal fowl knows when. All that wear feathers, first or last, must one day perch on Charon's mast, must lie beneath the cypress shade, where Strata's nightingale was laid. Those fowl who seem alive to sit, assembled by Dan Chaucer's wit, in prose have slept 300 years, exempt from worldly hopes and fears, and, laid in state upon their hearse, are truly but embalmed in verse. As sure as Lesbia's sparrow thou sure as Prior's dove, must die, and ne'er again from Letha's streams return to Aden or to Thames. I therefore weep Columbo dead, my hopes bereaved, my pleasures fled. I therefore must forever moan my dear Columbo, dead and gone. As Columbo never sees your tears, your cries Columbo never hears. A wall of brass and one of lead divide the living from the dead. Repelled by this the gathered rain of tears beats back to earth again. In t'other the collected sound of groans, when once received, is drowned. 'Tis therefore vain 1 hour to grieve what time itself can ne'er retrieve. By nature soft, I know a dove can never live without her love. Then quit this flame, and light another, dame, I advise you like a brother. What, I do make a second choice, in other nuptials to rejoice. Why not, my bird? No, Sparrow, no. Let me indulge my pleasing woe, thus sighing, cooing, ease my pain, but never wish nor love again. Distressed forever let me moan my dear Columbo, dead and gone. Our winged friends through all the grove contemn the mad excess of love. I tell thee, dame, the other day, I met a parrot and a jay, who mocked thee in their mimic tone, and wept Columbo, dead and gone. Whate'er thy jay or parrot said, my hopes are lost, my joys are fled, and I forever must deplore Columbo, dead and gone. Encore. For shame, forsake this beyond style. We'll talk an hour and walk a mile. Does it with sense or health agree to sit thus moping on a tree? To throw away a widow's life, when you again may be a wife? Come on, I'll tell you my amours. Who knows but they may influence yours? Example draws when precept falls, and sermons are less read than tales. Sparrow, I take thee for my friend. As such will hear thee, I descend. Hop on and talk. But, honest bird, take care that no immodest word may venture to offend my ear. As to saint-like turtle, never fear. By method things are best discussed. Begin we then with wife the first, a handsome, senseless, awkward, fool, who would not yield, and could not rule. Her actions did her charms disgrace, and still her tongue talked of her face. Count me the leaves of yonder tree, so many different wills had she, and, like the leaves, as chance inclined, those wills were changed with every wind. She courted the beau one night, assembly her supreme delight. The next she sat immured, unseen, and in full health enjoyed the spleen. She censured that, she altered this, and with great care set all amiss. She now could chide, now laugh, now cry, now sing, now pout, all God knows why. Sure it was her reign, she quaffed and died. Proceed we to my second bride. Well born she was, genteelly bred, and buxom both at board and bed. Glad to oblige, and pleased to please, and, as Tom Southern wisely says, no other fault had she in life, but only that she was my wife. O widow turtle! Every she, so nature's pleasure does decree, appears a goddess till enjoyed. But birds, and men, and gods, are cloyed. Was Hercules one woman's man, or Jove forever led a swan? Ah! Madam, cease to be mistaken, few married fowl peck dumb bacon. Variety alone gives joy. The sweetest meets the soonest cloy. What sparrow, dame, what dove alive, though Venus should the chariot drive, but would accuse the harness weight, if always coupled to one mate, and often wish the fetter broke. 'Tis freedom but to change the yoke. Impious wish to wed again ere death dissolved the former chain. As Sparrow you remark, and hear the rest. She brought me sons, but Jove be blessed she died in child on the nest. Well, rest her bones, quoth I, she's gone. But must I therefore lie alone? What, am I to her memory tied? Must I not live because she died? And thus I logically said, 'Tis good to have a reasoning head. Is this my wife? Probat or not? For death dissolved the marriage not. She was, concedo, during my life. But as a piece of clay a wife? Again, if not a wife, d'ye see, why them, no kin at all to me. And he who general tears can shed for folks that happen to be dead may e'en with equal justice mourn for those who never yet were born. Those points, indeed, you quaintly prove, but logic is no friend to love. My children then were just pen-feathered. Some little corn for them I gathered, and sent them to my spouse's mother, so left that brood to get another. And as old Harry Willem said, reflecting on Anne Boleyn dead, coxbones, I now again do stand the jolliest bachelor i' this land. All me. My joys, my hopes are fled. My first, my only love is dead. With endless grief let me bemoan Columbo's loss, let me go on. As yet my fortune was but narrow. I wooed my cousin, Filly Sparrow, this elder house of chirping end, from whence the younger branch descent. Well seated in a field of peas she lived, extremely at her ease. But when the honeymoon was past, the following nights were soon o'ercast. She kept her own, could plead the law, and quarrel for a barley straw. Both, you may judge, became less kind, as more we knew each other's mind. She soon grew sullen, I hard-hearted. We scolded, hated, fought, and parted. To London, blessed town, I went. She boarded at a farm in Kent. A magpie from the country fled, and kindly told me she was dead. I pruned my feathers, cocked my tail, and set my heart again to sail. My fourth, a mere coquette, or such I thought her, nor avails it much if true or false. Our troubles spring more from the fancy than the thing. Two staring horns, I often said, but ill become a sparrow's head. But then to set that balance even your cuckold sparrow goes to heaven. The thing you fear, suppose it done, if you inquire you make it known. Whilst at the root your horns are sore, the more you scratch they ache the more. But turn the tables and reflect, all may not be that you suspect, by the mind's eye the horns we mean, are only an idea seen. 'Tis from the inside of the head their branches shoot, their antlers spread. Fruitful suspicions often bear 'em, you feel them from the time you fear 'em. Cuckoo. Cuckoo. That echoed word offends the ear of vulgar bird. But those of finer taste have found there's nothing in single quotity beside the sound. Preferment always waits on horns, and household peace the gift adorns. This way or that let factions tend, the spark is still the cuckold's friend. This way or that let madam roam, well pleased and quiet she comes home. Now weigh the pleasure with the pain, the plus and minus, loss and gain, and what La Fontaine laughing says is serious truth in such a case, ampersand quo. Who slights the evil finds it least, and who does nothing does the best. Ampersand quo. I never strove to rule the roast, she ne'er refused to pledge my toast. In visits if we chanced to meet, I seemed obliging, she discreet. We neither much caressed nor strove, but good dissembling passed for love. What air of light our eye may know, 'tis only light itself can show. What air of love our heart can feel, 'tis mutual love alone can tell. My pretty amorous foolish bird, a moment's patience. In one word, the three kind sisters broke the chain. She died, I mourned, and wooed again. Let me with juster grief deplore my dear Columbo, now no more. Let me with constant tears bewail, your sorrow does but spoil my tale. My fifth she proved a jealous wife, Lord shield us all from such a life. 'Twas doubt, complaint, reply, chit-chat, 'twas this today, tomorrow that. Sometimes, forsooth, upon the brook I kept a miss. An honest rook told it a snipe, who told a steer, who told it those who told it her. One day a linnet and a lark had met me strolling in the dark. The next a woodcock and an owl, quick-sighted, grave, and sober fowl, would on their corporal oath allege I kissed a hen behind the hedge. Well, Madam Turtle, to be brief, repeating but renews our grief. As once she watched me from a rail, poor soul. Her footing chanced to fail, and down she fell and broke her hip. The fever came, and then the pip, dead did the only cure apply. She was at quiet, so was it could love unmoved these changes view. His sorrows as his joys are true. My dearest dove, one wise man says, alluding to our present case, ampersand quo. We're here today and gone tomorrow. Ampersand quo. Then what avails superfluous sorrow? Another, full as wise as he, adds, ampersand quo. That a married man may see 2 happy hours. Ampersand quo. And which are they? The first and last. Perhaps you'll say, 'tis true, when blithe she goes to bed, and when she peaceably lies dead. Ampersand quo. Women twixt sheets are best. Ampersand quo. 'Tis said, be they of Holland or of lead. Now cured of Hymen's hopes and fears, and sliding down the vale of years, I hoped to fix my future rest, and took a widow to my nest. Ah, turtle! Had she been like thee, sober yet gentle, wise yet free? But she was peevish, noisy, bold, a witching grafted on a scold. Jove in Pandora's box can find 100 ills to vex mankind. To vex one bird in her bander he hid at least 100 more, and soon as time that veil withdrew the plagues o'er all the parish flew. Her stock of borrowed tears grew dry, and native tempests armed her eye. Black clouds around her forehead hung, and thunder rattled on her tongue. We, young or old, or cock or hen, all live in Aeolus' den. The nearest her the more accursed, ill-fared her friends, her husband worst. But Jove amidst his anger spares, remarks our faults, but hears our prayers. In short she died. Why then she's dead, quoth I, and once again I'll wed. Would heaven this morning year were past, one may have better luck at last. Matters at worst are sure to mend. The devil's wife was but a fiend. Thy tale has raised a turtle's spleen. Uxorious inmate, bird obscene, darest thou defile these sacred groves, the silent seats of faithful loves? Begone. With flagging wings sit down on some old penthouse near the town. In brewer's stables pack thy grain, then wash it down with puddled rain, and hear thy dirty offspring squall from bottles on a suburb wall. Where thou hast been, return again, vile bird. Thou hast conversed with men, notions like these from men are given, those vilest creatures under heaven. To cities and to courts repair, flattery and falsehood flourish there. There all thy wretched arts employ, where riches triumph over joy, where passions do with interests barter, and Hymen holds by Mammon's charter. Where truth by point of law is parried, and knaves and prudes are 6 times married. Application. O dearest daughter of 2 dearest friends, to thee my muse this little tale commends. Loving and loved, regard thy future mate, long love his person, though deplore his fate. Seem young when old in thy dear husband's arms, for constant virtue has immortal charms. And when I'll lie low sepulchred in earth, and the glad year returns thy day of birth, vouchsafe to say, ere I could write or spell, the bard who from my cradle wished me well told me I should a prating sparrow blame, and bid me imitate the turtle's flame.